Earlier, Seth Doan told us the story of detained journalist Alsu Kurmasheva. But perhaps the best-known American reporter being held behind bars in Russia is the Wall Street Journal's Evan Gershkovich. Lesley Stahl of 60 Minutes helps mark a grim anniversary.
Look around the Wall Street Journal offices in Manhattan. Evan Gershkovich, the hostage, is everywhere, on buttons, cards, shirts, and screens that stop you in your tracks.
This dominates this newsroom.
Yeah, totally. Boom.
It's so emotional.
I remember the first time we brought his parents up when they saw it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was, absolutely.
Emma Tucker is editor-in-chief.
I remember the Iran hostage situation, and the families were told, don't talk about it. Let's keep this quiet. Let the government do its work. No publicity.
Well, my instinct was to draw attention to this because it was so clearly outrageous. You know, he was accredited, he was doing his job, he had done nothing wrong. My sense of justice was offended by what had happened.
Last March 29th, Evan was on assignment in Russia when he was arrested by security forces and accused of being a spy, a charge vigorously denied by Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal, and the U.S. government.
We condemn the detention of Mr. Gershkovich in the strongest terms.
He is the first reporter to be taken into custody this way since the Cold War. Why him, do you think?
It's very hard to know. Is it because he works for the Wall Street Journal, which is a recognizable, famous American title? Is it because he's of Russian heritage? I wish I knew.
What is known is that Gershkovich is being held in a Stalin-era prison in Moscow. His pre-trial detention has been extended several times. Court appearances have been few but jarring.
When you saw him in that glass cage, what went through you?
It was horrible. There's something so dehumanizing about those glass cages. I was surprised at the shock I felt at seeing it. So goodness only knows what his parents felt when they saw it. Oh boy. So yes, it was a shock. At the same time, he was standing tall, he looked defiant, he smiled. Yeah. So mixed emotions.
There's a picture of the whole family in here?
Yes. Yeah, here.
Oh, there's your dad.
Yep. Yeah, my brother's now taller than all of us.
I'll say.
In her apartment, where her younger brother would crash on the couch, Danielle Gershkovich said his calling was never in question.
Was he born to be a journalist?
Yes, I think he was born to be a journalist. He, I think, had always been seeking a life of adventure, and his travel, his writing, working at the Wall Street Journal as a Russia correspondent, it was his absolute dream job.
Children of Soviet emigres who spoke Russian at home, Danielle and Evan have always been close. Hearing that he was in custody was shattering.
I got a call from my mom, and it's just my stomach fell out. You know, your heart stops. It's so hard to believe that something like that is actually real. And I remember my mom and I discussing the morning after, is that really Evan, that photo that came out? We didn't want to admit for a moment that that was him.
Did you think it was a possibility? I mean, Russia a year ago had already become dangerous. Other news organizations were pulling reporters out.
I would say my whole family was nervous. He would always remind us he's an accredited journalist.
And therefore he thought he was safe.
Yeah, it's very unprecedented.
Of course, what was unprecedented has become almost routine under Vladimir Putin. Gershkovich is the latest American pawn on Putin's geopolitical chessboard against the West. Marine veteran Paul Whelan has been jailed in Russia for 5 years. Russian-American ballerina Ksenia Karolina was arrested in January, accused of treason for helping Ukraine. And basketball star Brittany Griner, imprisoned for 9 months on drug charges, was finally freed in an exchange for a notorious arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death.
Do you fear for your life?
Would it help?
Former world chess champion Gary Kasparov, who fled Russia in 2013, is one of Putin's most fervent critics.
You've just made some news. The Russians just added you to their list of terrorists and extremists. I thought you were already there, frankly.
It's like a badge of honor.
Putin just gets stronger and stronger, it seems, rather than the other way, which you predicted once, that he would be on the down.
Putin's strength is very much a result of our weakness. And any sign of indecisiveness, any sign of hesitation feeds Putin with power because, yes, I can do this, I can do that. Nothing will happen.
Is there any possibility he'll be acquitted?
No.
None.
No. Putin treats Gershkovich as money or weapons. This is one of the tools of him staying in power. So he'll be negotiating.
Putin himself has made that clear. He said he was open to a prisoner swap involving Gershkovich and Whelan and a deal for opposition leader Alexei Navalny right before he died in a Russian prison last month.
What I can tell you is that the United States has been negotiating with the Russians.
Roger Carstens is the U.S. Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs.
You didn't deny that a swap was in the works and it fell apart when Navalny died.
We had a strong offer that went at the end of last year. The Russians rejected it. I was rather disappointed, but it might not have been entirely a huge surprise. But our goal now is to keep working with partners, allies, and to find that combination that's going to allow us to solve it.
How many Americans are being held hostage in the world?
So I'll tell you, my numbers at one point were over 50. They're now down in between 20 and 30. We always hesitate to give out an exact number for various reasons. In the last 3 years, the Biden and Harris administration has brought back 46 Americans that were wrongfully detained or held hostage.
So you've been successful in 46 cases in these bargaining situations.
Correct. And I can tell you, Lesley, it's a team effort. It's members of the U.S. government, members on Capitol Hill, nonprofits, NGOs, allies, partners, and even members of the media that all seem to work together to bring those people home. Evan has never worked for the U.S. government. He's not a spy. He's a journalist, and journalism should not be a crime.
Gershkovich spends 23 hours a day in his cell. Wall Street Journal editor-in-chief Emma Tucker says he's allowed to send and receive letters as long as they're in Russian.
What do you hear about his spirits?
He's a resilient character. He's an extrovert, he's a people person.
And his health?
I think his health is okay. His mum looks very closely whenever there are shots of him. And I think there's limits to how much exercise he can do. I can only imagine what the food is like. But he's meditating, he's practicing and getting ever better at Russian. He's been reading in Russian.
And he even managed to deliver something very special to his sister, Danielle.
My brother arranged that they be delivered for me for International Women's Day, March 8th.
From prison?
Yes, it was really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He did a beautiful job. Oh my goodness, that is special.
Yeah, so he's always thinking about us and finding ways to make us smile.
From the minute I walked in here, your eyes keep watering.
Oh.
It's hard for you to talk about. Or not. Maybe it helps you.
Maybe it's that bittersweet moment where I'm looking at his photos. I wish I didn't have to do this, but talking about my brother is always, it makes me smile. I miss him so much.